Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I'm going to be unveiling the Wakandan rework. I'm going to go through the stat increases, I'm going to go through all the kits, I'm going to talk a little bit about, how strong I think the team is and whether I think it's worth investing in. I will just say as a starting point, this is a team that's been bad for years. It's been bad since almost as soon as it was released. Many years ago, it was debuted as the premier raid team. Almost was bad from day one. Never really lived up to that hype that Scopely had sold the team as. But I will just say this is a team that almost no one has invested in unless you're a very old-time player. In other words, OG players who were playing this game 1,000 days ago, maybe 3 years ago or more, have a substantial investment in this team. I think for a lot of us, the team might look something more like mine, right? Now, even for me, I've really invested a lot in Shuri because I was racing in Dark Dimension 5, but this is what I used to be Chaos Theory, which is their monthly event. When this was with Shuri at Gear Tier 14, not 16. And this was enough to get by. Killmonger I use with my mercenaries as the 5th character. He's fine, but that's really all he is. I use Shuri and Killmonger in Gamma raids. These three are basically just fodder in low levels of Blitz. Don't really use them much at all. So and I've been playing the game. I have a huge roster, and I've been playing the game for what? 800 or 781 days. And this is, where I'm at with this team. So I think for most players, they don't have that investment already in Wakandans. And this is just going to be yet another team to build. So for this patch, I will say most of you should really, I think, hold off on building this team as a starting point. But I'm going to go through with you, the team. I'm going to kind of give you some insights from the developer when we had the interview with him. And you can decide for yourself. This is the reworked team that Cerebro teased in that recent video, saying that there'd be a rework for Crucible, and this is it. And I really will say the value of this team depends in large part on the value of the rewards in that game mode. All the devs have told us is that there would be, quote, tons of teal gear, given Scopely's pricing. That could be 5 pieces, 10 pieces, we don't know. I think just wait and see. But let's get right into it. This is a team that will be very strong in Crucible, but not dominant. In other words, the new X-Men team will be dominant. This team I expect to be a team that basically beats Infinity Watch, which is good, but not dominant, right? Nowadays, Infinity Watch is above average, but not superior. All right, let's look at Black Panther. Massive stat increases for Black Panther. 154% health stat. Damage is up 45%, 12% armor, 53% focus, 21% resistance. So very significant, particularly in the health category. He was a very squishy character before. Substantial improvements. One thing I will say is the dev did hint to us that more, the additions to this team or changes could come when there's a new Black Panther movie introduced. So there may be a new character at that point or more additions to the team. Obviously, Black Panther, I think, would always be on the team, most likely in that scenario, just given, how iconic the character is. All right, let's look at the changes to his kit. So the basic now adds a bleed, which is nice. It means the T4 there may be something you want to consider. It also, between the slow and the bleed, you could argue that this would be a striker on the team. I'm going to talk a little bit about ISO as we go along here. The special, attack primary target for 230% damage plus 30% piercing. Apply offense up for 2 turns to the whole team, which is very important. Offense up gives 50% more damage. On crit, apply 2 counter to the entire team. So this is, one element of this team this kit, and there'll be another one soon that suggests he should be a raider. There's multiple spots here where it suggests that a raider's a good choice, but the overall setup of the team seems to me like it would ordinarily be the sort of team you do one skirmisher and a bunch of strikers, because as we'll get to, there's a character, Okoye, that'll be assisting now on all the other characters' turns. I will just say my general view on this from talking to the game designer was that this was a hastily thrown together rework. It didn't seem well thought through to me. But we'll see. He definitely wanted to make sure that this team was very successful in Crucible. He felt very confident about that. He said that, this would counter teams, good teams. It seems to me pretty obvious from looking at the kit that he wanted it to counter Infinity Watch. But when I asked him specifically how well this team would do elsewhere, he said that it would basically beat, old meta like Black Order, for example. But he said he made it kind of clear he hadn't really tested it outside of Crucible. And, maybe it would outperform that against certain teams, and it would be up for us to test and figure that out, which basically told me he didn't really care or pay much attention to that. And I think for most of us, how well this team performs elsewhere is extremely important, because most players can't afford to if you're already building 7 new characters in this patch, new or reworked, in terms of A-Force and the new X-Men team, this is yet another 5 characters on top of that. All right, so this crit, like I said, Raider is a possibility here, and then this 100% crit chance, which is really awesome. So you don't even need Raider there for this particular attack. It's going to apply counter, but obviously the Raider is going to give you increased crit damage, right? Okay. Ultimate attacks primary target. This is all the same. Counter, back, breaks, exchange. Here's the new part. I have everything new in yellow. While charged, instead attack all enemies for 280% damage. This attack gains 40% damage per charge. This is really nice because chain, is something where if you can, a chain, it's not a rebound chain, so a regular chain, you can just sort of, run out of enemies to attack if there's only a couple of them clumped together. Whereas this means attacking everybody, and then he's got in his passive, I think, one of the coolest things about the Black Panther kit has always been that he gains all the speed bar when he kills someone, and that can be a problem when the enemy has a Black Panther in, let's say, Dark Dimension. Here, attacking all enemies gives you a better shot at getting that killing blow. In Crucible, if this character has 4 or more charge, fill speed bar by 30% for the entire team, which is huge. There's a number of pieces of this kit that are locked behind Crucible, and this is one that may not seem like a big deal to you, but it's really huge. 30% speed bar for the entire team is massive. It's, it's like when, let's say, Carnage would give speed bar to the whole team after somebody gets low in health, right? It drives the entire symbiotes. Now, here, obviously, it's not something you can do all the time, right? His ultimate, and I'm going to go to it here, his ultimate is 1 out of every 6 turns, but there are ways for him to get ability energy, and so you could just see a bit of a turn meter train starting here potentially with Black Panther. Okay, and then he loses all his charges, and when he uses his ultimate, there's going to be ways for him to get charges as well. All right, and then regarding his ultimate, all attacks have 30% extra piercing and 20% extra crit chance. Like I said, another reason why Raider looks nice for him. If the character has the full team with him, the attack can't be dodged, which is very nice against, let's say, the Web Warriors. All right, passive. When he's attacked, he gets charges up to a maximum of 5. So, this is a character that you may want to consider putting next to your tank and Baku, just to get, more charges. It's a risky strategy, but I think that's one way of doing it. On kill, this is, like I said, kind of a famous T4 here that a lot of players had back in the day, getting his speed bar by 100% so he could take infinite turns if he was getting killing blows. On defense, up gaining deflect and regeneration. And then here in Crucible, while he's charged, gain 15% damage and 50% drain for the entire team. That's huge. Drain is when a portion of the damage you put out comes back as healing. And, for Infinity Watch, if all of us have used that team, but that's a team where a lot of the value there is the drain. That's a lot of what the sustainability is there. And that's why Phyla-Vell is usually the first character to be targeted, because she provides that drain. Here in Crucible, he's providing the same thing for the team, so very valuable. All right, let's talk about M'Baku. He's currently probably the worst character on the team. Him and Okoye are both really just absolutely awful. So there's just a complete overhaul of the kit. It's almost entirely different now. So look at his stats. More health, more damage, more armor, more focus, more resistance. You could see all the totals there. 29% more health, 38% damage, 25% more armor, 68% more focus, 57% more resistance. All right, kit's totally different now. The basic I believe, is essentially the same. No significant change that I can recall. I'm going to just double check while I'm making this to you. Yep, no changes to the basic, which is why I didn't bother noting anything here. So let's go right to the special. Now in the special, okay, gain taunt for 2 turns and then apply +2 counter to the entire team. It's a team like the old Defenders now that realize a lot of counters. +2 charges, and then applies defense up for 2 turns to the whole team. That's huge. This is a team that, has that defense up initially from Shuri. But defense up is kind of like almost a required thing, it seems like right now in the meta. Almost every team seems like they get defense up. You're starting to see stuff in kits where they ignore defense up where enemies do, because it's such a, it's such a significant damage mitigation, 50% less incoming damage. All right, ultimate. Attack primary target and all adjacent targets for 320% damage and apply a vulnerable. So just like, you get that in the Cloak and Dagger fight where you get vulnerables thrown out here, you're getting now another character applying vulnerables up, to a whole clump of targets. Now, I will just say, you'll see here with this ultimate, it's basically entirely new. Then chain to a target adjacent to the primary and attack that target and all adjacent targets for 320% damage and apply +1 vulnerable. So it's just if any of the previous targets resist the prior attack. So very powerful. And then apply +2 charge to the whole team. Like I said, when we're discussing Black Panther's kit, very easy to get additional charges in this team, it seems like. And then counterattack doesn't break that chain. So this, and just to show you, this bears absolutely no resemblance whatsoever to the attack as it is now. Okay. Here it's just 180% damage and that's it. Whereas here, there's just tons of cool stuff going on. He's throwing out vulnerables and giving charge to the entire team and so on. Okay. Now let's look at M'Baku's passive. Really important change here. Okay, on defense up, heal. This is already there. And if he's already at max health, he gets +1 defense up. So, he'll get +3 defense up at the start. But, when Shuri uses her special. But here, look, if charged, when a Wakandan ally drops below 50% health, clear all negative effects on this character, gain +1 taunt, and lose 1 charge. So he's going to be taunting all the time. He's going to be a major pain in the butt. And, now this is, he's going from a character that really didn't do a very good job protecting the team to a character who's going to be very annoying, because if you don't control him or take him down early while you're working on Shuri or Black Panther or whomever, he's going to be dispelling negative effects and taunting. Okay, so very, very, very significant change there. And then he gains 25% block chance. And then while he's charged, he gains another 100% block chance and 50% block amount, which should make him very, very difficult to kill. We've all faced, let's say, Captain Sam with a lot of block. It's similar. And when he has a block, he loses a charge and heals for 10% max health. Like I said, lots of charges will be flying around in this team, which should make that less of an issue. And then in Crucible, if this character has 2 or more Wakandan allies, lower armor by 30% for all enemies with vulnerable. So he's going to be throwing out all this vulnerable out there and then lowering the enemy armor. That's going to increase physical damage. So very significant, passive effect there. All right, let's talk about Okoye. Like her and M'Baku are the 2 crappy characters right now. Increasing health stat by 84%, the damage stats up by 45%, armor by 95%, focus by 84%, resistance by 21%. Just a massive stat increase there. All right, her basic now will clear 2 positive effects. So I was trying to figure out who is going to be the striker on the team, and you could make the argument that it's Okoye, that she would be the striker because you want to have the ISO attack clearing those positive effects, okay? We'll talk more about that in a minute, when we get to her ISO. She also gains 50% extra focus for that attack. All right, her special. attacks the primary target for 220% damage and applies defense down for a turn. And now she applies offense down for 2 turns, which is really nice. Change to 4 adjacent targets. And then in Crucible, reduce speed bar of all targets with immunity by 35%. This is a real call out against the Infinity Watch. There's a lot of immunity there, and this will take care of that. Counter deck breaks the chain. Okay. Ultimate. Gain offense up, which is 50% more damage, and attack primary target for 320% piercing and reduce speed bar by 50%, which is awfully nice. And then she gets 40% additional damage per charge. And in Crucible, clear revive once from the primary target. This attack can't be resisted. So this is very nice. Like, let's say if you're facing a Dormammu team, but I think the real target here, once again, is Infinity Watch. You have characters like Adam Warlock and Gamora and Nebula that are going to revive once, and this will take care of that. It's a way of getting one of them down quickly. Like, you could just target Nebula, kill her once, and if you use this ability on her, it'll clear that revive once. The reason they said that they made this attack not be resisted is because right now there's no indicator to see if a character has revive once, and so they just wanted to make it simple. They said that in the future, if they include this mechanic, and it's a very powerful mechanic, they will make it resistible once they get that indicator into the game. They're planning to introduce some indicator that shows us if the character has revive once. And then in Crucible, if the character has 4 or more charge, gain 3 ability energy. This is important because the ultimate requires 6 energy in the game. So then this way in Crucible, this is she's going to be spamming this a lot and doing this, every 3rd turn. So very, very big change there. Like I said, very significant pieces of the kit here are locked behind Crucible. And then this attack ignores defense up and can't be dodged. Very important nowadays because so many teams just have defense up all the time. Her passive is just one of the most important changes to the team. Okay, so first of all, in Crucible, she applies immunity to all Wakandan allies when she gets defense up. So the way this team's going to work is Shuri, when they zone in, gives speed up to the team. So that's going to make them go fast, go before a lot of other teams because speed up is 50% additional turn meter gain. So it makes you a lot faster. Then Shuri's going to put defense up on the entire team. And then once Okoye does that, once Shuri does that, then Okoye is going to apply immunity to the whole team. So the whole team's going to have defense up and immunity and speed up at start, which is very significant. Then whenever any one of the team crits, she gains charges. So once again, another part of the kit that suggests like, hey, everybody should be a Raider, right? Let's have lots of Raiders. So it helps that the Raider is going to certainly provide benefits to Black Panther since he crits all the time, and then it provides benefits here. But wait. On Wakandan allies turn, gain assist. Now, if you're an old timer, you'll know this was apparently shown as an initial piece of her kit, and then it was taken away at some point. Thought to be too powerful. Now it's not. Well, assist now is a big deal. So this is like Miss Marvel has, like where she's always assisting, the other Young Avengers. So basically, what you generally want to do in that circumstance is you usually want this character to be a skirmisher, and then you have everybody else on the team be a striker, so that this way, there's a triple tap thing that goes on. The weird thing here is that this is what I'm saying. The design doesn't 100% make sense to me. This character has probably the best ISO attack, so making her a skirmisher, you would lose that. And then all these, multiple characters on the team benefit from having crits, and like here, so you think you want some Raiders in the team. So ISO wise, it's really unclear to me. Usually when there's an assist now character, I'd be like, oh great, we got a skirmisher and some strikers. Maybe 1 skirmisher, 4 strikers. Now with this team, with all the Raider and with the fact that she's probably got the best ISO attack, it definitely tells me I'm going to need to test this. Test some different options out. She gains 50% piercing. I think that's just all of her attacks. Okay. Koi also in Crucible while she's charged, and if this character has 4 or more Wakandan allies, in other words, the full team, lower damage by 15% for all enemies. That's passive. That's very significant. Gain 20% speed for the entire team. This is very, very, very significant. People bring in Emma Frost just because her passive makes your characters 10% faster. This brings your characters 20% faster, and that's only in Crucible. Like I said, very significant pieces of the kit are locked behind Crucible. Lowering drain by 50% for all enemies. That's another call out to be anti-Infinity Watch. This basically shuts down the Phyla-Vel drain that makes that team so difficult and is the reason you target Phyla-Vel early. So if you're using this team, you can probably ignore Phyla-Vel once she uses her cleanse and just use that ultimate here against, let's say, Nebula, and just kill Nebula quickly because she can't revive. Okay. All right, Shuri is by far the best character on this team. I mean, the issue with Shuri, currently before the rework. So, the issue with Shuri has been really her low health pool. So if you look at her health pool here, it's laughable. 356k health, and that's with gear tier 16, 6 red stars. But her kit is, still remained very good, in part because she has... first of all, her stats do go up in raids, and she does a healing on turn, but she also has this thing where in raids, when self or any ally drops below 50% max health, they gain 3 deflex. So she does these out of turn deflex. It's just kind of like when you have out of turn attacks, let's say by Black Bolt or Kestrel. This is sort of out of turn deflex, which are very nice. It's a very cool part of the kit. So they didn't do as much with this character as some of the others, but there are some significant increases here. The base health stat increased by 50% is pretty significant because this character is already not so great in war. So now, in raids right now, she's okay-ish. She's usable, and I use her in raids. She's on my Czech raid team now. But she's very squishy and she dies way more often than I'd like. 50% more max health is going to be huge. I think this part of this rework is significant for players who are not going hard in Crucible. For most players, this is the most important part of the changes here, because you can just bring your Shuri up and use her in tech raids now that she's got more health. Increased base damage stat by 45%, armor by 46%, focus by 31%, resistance by 21%. The two that matter here are health and armor. Those are the two that matter, and those are significant. All right, her basic always applied heal block for 2 turns with the T4, which is nice, but now it attacks primary and adjacent targets for 300% damage instead of just being a single target damage. That's nice. The special, the only difference in the special is that now it generates ability energy for 4 random Wakandan allies. In other words, basically the whole team gets ability energy, whereas before it was just, if you look at it in the game, it's just generating the ability energy for 2 random allies. So that's a lot, and now it's generating 6 ability energy instead of 2, which is a pretty significant change. Okay. There's no change to her ultimate. Her passive is all basically the same here. This is all stuff that's already there, except this stuff at the bottom is now everywhere and not just in raids, which is pretty significant. So if you look now at the kit in the game, you have all the same stuff: 40% max health, blah blah, 20% armor, 50%, the out of turn deflex. That's all in raids only. Now it's just all over the place. So this means, to me, this just, suggests that, obviously it's being made from a raid team into a Crucible team, but also it's just going to make the team better elsewhere. Shuri now is a, much better plug and play outside of raids than she was before. She still had some value before, giving some ability energy and defense up out early, but this makes her much more significant, just on a variety of teams. So it makes her a better character. And then we have, last but not least, Killmonger. Killmonger is a character who was, unlike Shuri, he was a very good character, not superb, but good character, and his kit was fine for what it was. So he got the least love entirely. So 20% more health, 38% more damage, 22% more armor, 31% more focus, 21% more resistance. He's a character that fits on multiple teams. He He's a mercenary, so he's on the mercs usually. He can be skilled military, although he's not the best person to be on that team. Before they were reworked, he was there. And so, he's a character that's had some value. He's been okay-ish even before this. So these are very minor touch-ups here. The only change in his kit was to the ultimate, and just one small part. In Crucible, it rebound changed to 7 adjacent targets. Otherwise, he's basically, this is it. I mean, this is all there is. So what's my take on this team? As I said before, I think this is a team that I would hold resources on. In other words, if you need Shuri for tech raids, or if you could use her in tech raids, then by all means bring her up. But otherwise, to me, this is a team that's a real luxury. I would wait and see how well this team does wait and see, how well this team does outside of Crucible. And I'd also wait and see exactly what the rewards are in Crucible, because realistically, for this patch, you've got 3 X-Men to bring up. You've got 5 members of A-Force to bring up, unless you've already got a huge Captain Marvel and Jessica Jones. Maybe some of you do. And then now would be 5 more. That's, 12 characters in this patch. So this seems to me, it reminds me a little bit of Ravagers, where it's an interesting team, good in the game mode, decent outside, not quite as good. But probably going to be skipped by most players. The difference there is it had one great new standalone character in T'Challa. This is a team, I would say Shuri's probably the best standalone character. But outside that, and I do think she has, for now, until a tech raid solution comes along, she has some very serious value in the tech nodes. But, otherwise, this team is just okay. I know a lot of content creators are going to view this as some great gift to the community and I know that some of them have said that to me, because these are characters that are all farmable and we all have it with plenty of stars on them. I don't view it that way. I mean, I think this is a team that, you now are going to feel pressure to build up to maintain your spot in Crucible. And when they do stuff like this, to me, all they're doing is looking at their spreadsheet, seeing which teams aren't invested in, and they're, giving us an incentive to build them up. So, sure, it's fine. I mean, I think this is good for free-to-play players in the sense that it gives them something to work on if they don't have enough stars or shards on newer teams. But at the same time, I think for most players, unless this turns out to be a Scourge team, it's kind of fool's gold to invest in them. So my view is just hold off, wait and see what additional data we get, and then choose your investments very wisely, because most of you should be most of us, and myself included, other than when I make videos, should be holding resources to the extent possible for characters that, to determine whether or not they're going to be needed in the next Scourge. Not just when Scopely says, oh, here's the 2 teams, but actually seeing which of those 2 teams you need big and which is the one, let's say, like, Dark Hunters, that you could slack on a little bit. All right, guys, if you like this video, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel. If you got comments, questions, cheers, jeers, happy, sad, angry, mad, you can put it below or go to my Discord. That's linked below. You can also go to my Twitch stream. That's linked below too.